Three Apache riders came out of the heat like shadows pulled from the earth. Their horses moved slow and steady, hooves cutting into the red dust. Behind them, something dragged across the ground, leaving a dark trail that the wind could not erase. When they reached the ranch gate, they did not stop. They swung their arms and threw the body forward like it was nothing more than an empty hide. The body hit the ground hard. It was a large Apache woman. Her shoulders were wide. Her arms were thick with muscle. Leather straps bit deep into her wrists. Her back was a map of pain, covered in old and new lash marks. Blood had dried into her skin long ago. The sun burned down on her, and her chest rose and fell so faintly it almost looked like the earth itself was breathing for her. "She is a curse," one of the Apache men said. His voice was empty, like the words had already died before leaving his mouth. "She no longer belongs to the tribe." No one looked toward the ranch house. They did not need permission. They had only come to leave death behind. The horses turned. Hooves faded into the distance. Red dust slowly settled. The ranch became silent again, as if no one had ever come. Wade stood still for a long time. He knew this silence well. Ever since his wife and child were taken from him, he had learned not to look too closely, not to ask questions, not to step into things that were not his business. People survived by turning their backs. That was how he had lived these past years. Then, the woman on the ground moved. It was small, just a shift. A broken breath caught in her throat, but it was enough. Wade stepped forward. The hot sand pressed through the soles of his boots. Up. He knelt and placed 2 fingers against her wrist. The pulse was there, weak but real. All he had to do was walk away. Let the sun finish what the tribe had started. Wade pulled out his knife. The blade flashed once in the light. Leather snapped apart. He muttered under his breath, more angry at himself than anyone else. Then he bent down, lifted the heavy body onto his shoulders, and stood. She was heavier than she looked, not from fat, but from muscle and bone. A body built to endure. As he carried her toward the cabin, Wade knew one thing with complete certainty. By doing this, he had just stood against an entire tribe. Inside the cabin, the air was thick and still. Wade laid her down on the wooden floor. He lit a fire, and the golden light flickered across her back. Some wounds were deep purple. Others were still open. He did not curse. He only breathed slow, as if breathing any harder might break something that could not be fixed. There was little water left in the bucket. He used it anyway. He cleaned the blood, cleaned the dust. He wrapped her wrists in clean cloth, loose enough not to hurt her, tight enough to stop the bleeding. It was not to bind her, it was to keep her alive. Her hand twitched suddenly, fingers curling like she was reaching for a weapon in her sleep. Wade stepped back half a pace. "You're in my cabin," he said quietly. "No one will touch you here." She did not answer. Only her rough breathing filled the room. Wade pulled a chair against the wall and sat down. His gun stayed within reach. Not because he feared her, but because that was what a man did after losing too much. Across from him, on a wooden shelf, Saturday, 2 chipped bowls. They had been there for years. His wife used to stand there. His child used to run barefoot across the floor. Then came smoke in the distance, gunshots, screams by the time Wade returned home that day. There was nothing left but fire and silence. The woman on the floor let out a faint groan, pulling him back to the present. Wade stood, poured water into a bowl, and held it near her lips. "If you can drink, then drink," he said. Her eyes opened, dark, deep, watchful, her body tensed like a drawn bow. Wade did not move closer. "You're not a prisoner," he said, slowly. "But out there, there's nothing waiting for you." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she drank. Outside, the desert wind howled. Wade leaned against the door, gun in hand. That was how the first night passed. Two survivors under one roof, each guarding their own pain. Morning came slow. Even the sun seemed unsure about this place. Wade woke stiff in his chair. The fire had burned down to embers. The Apache woman was already sitting up. She sat straight, legs folded beneath her, steady like the ground itself. The blanket had slipped from her shoulders, revealing a powerful frame, not fragile, not broken. Her eyes moved across the cabin, calm and sharp. "You're on your feet," Wade said. "Good." She looked at her wrists. The cloth was loose. No fresh bruises. "You could have tied me tighter," she said. "Didn't need to." Wade replied. She nodded once. She stood almost as tall as him and walked to the door. The floor creaked under her weight. She looked out at the desert. "My name is Ayanna," she said. "If you care to know." "Wade," he said. No more questions. She turned back to him. "I was cast out." He did not ask why. She picked up the small knife from the table, turned it once in her hand, then set it back down. "I can protect myself," she said. "But I have nowhere left to go." Wade studied her. She was not weak, not begging. Just someone pushed out of her world. "You can stay," he said, "long as you need." Ayanna nodded. Something eased in her eyes. The days passed slow. Wade fixed fences. Ayanna hauled water from the well, moving like she was built for labor. At night, they sat by the fire. The desert spoke for them. One night, she broke the silence. "Do you know why they called me a curse?" she asked. "No," Wade said. "Dad," she replied. "They needed something to blame." She told him how she was born bigger than the others, how she never belonged, how misfortune always found her name. Wade listened. That night, she slept on the bed. Wade stayed on the porch. The first sign came with a silence that did not belong. No birds. The horse restless. Fresh hoofprints near the fence. Ayanna saw them too. "They have come back," she said. Smoke rose from the mesa by noon. Not a fire. A signal. "They know I'm alive," Ayanna said. "They will come for me." Wade clenched his jaw. "If they come here," he said, "I'll have to choose." Ayanna looked at him, steady and unafraid. "I choose to stay." The wind shifted as the sun fell lower, and neither of them turned away. The morning air felt tight, like the land itself was holding its breath. Wade woke before the sun cleared the mesa. He stood on the porch, scanning the horizon, reading the dirt the way other men read letters. Nothing moved, but that meant little. In this country, danger did not announce itself. It waited. Ayanna stepped outside behind him. She moved quietly for someone her size. Her wounds had closed enough to stop bleeding, but the pain still lived in her body. She did not complain. She never had. "They will come today or tomorrow," she said. "They do not rush these things." Wade nodded. He already knew. They worked without speaking. Wade reinforced the porch with old boards and sacks of sand. Ayanna carried stones from the dry creek bed, stacking them near the cabin walls. Not as a fort, just enough to make a stand mean something. By noon, the heat pressed down hard. Wade watched Ayanna lift and carry as if pain had long stopped asking her permission. He wondered how many years she had survived by strength alone. He wondered what it cost her. They ate in silence. Hard bread. Water measured carefully. Nothing wasted. Later, as shadows stretched long, Ayanna spoke again. "When they cast me out," she said, "they told the children not to look at me. Said my spirit would poison theirs." Wade leaned against the fence. "Did they?" "Oh," she said. "Children never feared me. Only adults did." That made sense to him. The sound came just before sunset. Hooves, many of them. Not rushed, not loud. purposeful. Wade stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. Ayana stood beside him, unarmed, shoulders squared. She did not hide behind him. She did not step ahead. She stood where she chose. The Apache riders came into view, spreading out across the open ground. 8 of them this time. The elder rode at the front. "You were warned," the elder said, his voice calm. "This does not belong to you." "She belongs to herself," Wade answered. The elder's eyes shifted to Ayana. "Return, and your death will bring balance." Ayana took one step forward. "My death will bring comfort, not balance." A murmur passed through the riders. One young warrior tightened his grip on his reins, anger sharp in his eyes. Wade raised his rifle slightly, not threatening, just honest. "This is my land," he said. "You don't take people from it." Silence fell heavy. The elder studied Wade for a long moment. "You are already a man marked by loss," he said. "Do not add to it." Wade did not answer. He had lost everything once. That fear no longer owned him. The first arrow flew without warning. It struck the porch post inches from Wade's shoulder. Wood splintered. The world snapped into motion. Wade fired. The shot rang out across the plain. A rider fell hard from his horse. Chaos followed. Ayana moved fast. She grabbed a fallen axe from beside the porch and ran, not toward the riders, but to the side, drawing attention. Arrows flew toward her. She dodged, rolled, came up swinging. Wade fired again and again. Each shot counted. He did not aim to kill unless he had to. But survival had its own rules. Ayana reached a rider and pulled him from his horse with raw strength. He hit the ground hard. She knocked the breath from him and kept moving. The fight did not last long. The elder raised his hand, shouting for retreat. 2 riders lay wounded. One did not move. The others pulled back, dust rising as they fled. Silence returned. But it was different now, heavy with consequence. Ayana stood still, chest rising fast. Blood ran down her arm, not deep, but real. Wade reached her side. "You hurt?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not worse than before." They stood together. As the sun sank behind the mesa, both knowing this was not an ending, only a turning point. That night, Wade cleaned Ayana's arm. His hands were steady. Hers did not pull away. "You didn't have to fight," she said quietly. "Yes," he replied. "I did." She looked at him then, really looked. Not with distance, not with fear. "I have never had someone choose me," she said. Wade finished, tying the cloth. "Get some rest." She did. He stayed awake. Outside, the desert waited. The night after the fight passed without sleep. Wade sat on the porch until the stars faded, rifle across his knees. Ayana rested inside the cabin, her breathing slow and even. The desert was quiet, but not peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that came after a promise had been broken and before another was made. When morning came, the land looked the same as always. Dry earth, endless sky. But both of them knew nothing was the same anymore. Ayana stepped outside just after sunrise. Her arm was stiff, but she moved through it like she always did, accepting pain without letting it rule her. She stood beside Wade, looking out toward the mesa. "They will not come again," she said. "You sure?" Wade asked. "They believe blood answers blood," she said. "They spilled some. That is enough for now." Wade nodded. He trusted her sense more than his own. They worked that day like any other. The fence needed fixing. The well rope needed tightening. Simple tasks, honest tasks. But something had shifted between them. There was no longer just survival. There was choice. By afternoon, Wade noticed something he had not seen before. Ayana laughed. It was quiet, almost surprised, like she did not Expect the sound to come from herself. It happened when the old horse refused to move, stubborn as stone. She pushed, the horse pushed back, and for a moment, it was almost funny. Wade watched her, and a thought settled deep in his chest. Not hope, not fear. Something steadier. That evening, they sat on the porch again. The fire burned low. The wind carried the smell of dust and grass. A why-on-ah broke the silence. When I was a child, she said, I believed if I was strong enough, the world would stop hurting me. Tay listened. I learned strength only makes the pain quieter. She went on, it does not take it away. Wade nodded. Strength just keeps you standing long enough to decide what to do with it. She looked at him. What will you do with yours? Wade thought of his wife, his child, the years he had spent waiting for nothing. I will stop running from it, he said. Awaya-na reached out then. She did not grab him. She did not pull him. Close. Her hand rested on his arm, solid and warm. I haven't been close to anyone in so long, she said. I forgot how it feels not to be pushed away. Wade turned to her. You're not a burden here. She searched his face, looking for lies. She found none. That night, they shared the cabin again, not in desperation, not in fear, but in quiet understanding. Two people who had already lost everything and knew there was nothing left to pretend about. Morning came gentle this time. Days turned into weeks. No riders returned. No smoke rose from the mesa. Life settled into a rhythm. Ayana repaired what was broken. Wade taught her the land. They spoke little, but when they did, the words mattered. One afternoon, Wade found Ayana standing near the old fence line, staring out at the open land. You thinking of leaving? He asked. She shook her head. I was thinking about staying. He waited. I was told my name would be erased, she said. That I would have no people. Wade stepped beside her. You have this place. She looked at him. And you? He met her eyes. I'm not much of a tribe. She smiled then. A real smile. Small, but real. I don't need many, she said. Neither did he. That evening, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the ranch, Wade realized something he had not allowed himself to believe. The emptiness he had carried was no longer in control. It had not vanished, but it no longer owned him. Ayana placed her knife on the table and left it there, not because she was weak, but because she finally felt safe enough not to hold it. The desert did not change. The world did not soften. Pain still existed beyond the fences. But on that ranch, two people once thrown away had chosen something different. They chose to stay.